Hi everyone, this video is to look at maintaining biodiversity. So we've talked a lot about the human impact on biodiversity in the environment, and what we're going to look at now is how can we maintain or improve biodiversity where it's been affected by human activity. Okay, so let's do a quick spec check. So looking at the specification, you can see that you've got to describe both positive and negative human interactions in an ecosystem and explain their impact. Now, we've talked a lot about negative human interactions. We're going to talk about the positive in this video. So you can see that there are different things that they want you to know about, and that's what I'm going to go through now. So the first thing in terms of endangered species, so an endangered species is where the numbers are so low that it's making it very difficult for them to survive in their natural habitats. So many places have what we call breeding programs. So you can increase the number of the endangered species, and you can do this through captive or artificial breeding programs in zoos, and some zoos and some programs, they look to improving the habitats from where they came and then reintroducing species into those environments. One of the key problems though is inbreeding. So if they're genetically similar in a zoo, for example, then they're going to inbreed, and that could cause genetic disorders and problems in terms of the fertility of the animal. The giant panda here is a very common example, and you got the Przewalski horses, which is also another example, but there are many examples you find in zoos. Also with human activity, it's affected the habitats of different species. So there are many different programs in terms of protecting and regenerating rare habitats. So for an example here are the corals. So they're very much affected by the warming of the seas. So due to deforestation and climate change, many habitats have been lost, and these are home to many different living organisms. People are trying to protect these endangered habitats and re-establishing them again. So for example, coral reefs, there's programs to recolonize dead areas. Also mangroves and heathlands are examples. So that's what we mean by conservation, so conserving habitats and also trying to enhance habitats or bring back habitats that have been lost due to human activity. And as it says there, to protect the coral reef, we are trying to reduce carbon dioxide emissions and therefore global warming. There's been a massive demand for food and crops, and therefore farmers have used more what we call intensive farming methods. And these are very efficient methods, but unfortunately this changes the habitats of for different species. So there is a move in many parts of the world to reintroduce things such as field margins, to actually grow wildflowers there to improve biodiversity, and also to replace hedgerows, because in many agricultural areas they were removed to produce huge fields. That obviously increases crop yield, and that allows farmers to use larger, more efficient machinery. These hedgerows are home to a wide range of species, and also the other problem with large fields are that you could get more soil erosion and more runoff of fertilizers and pesticides. And so many farmers are really aware of this, and actually they're putting things in place to protect the countryside and the habitats through which different species live. And from a previous video, when we talked about global warming, it's pretty clear that we need to reduce deforestation and carbon dioxide emissions. So some governments now, in fact most if not all governments, are starting to recognize the damage deforestation and increasing CO2 emissions has. And at one point, rainforests, it says here, in Costa Rica were being felled rapidly. However, now they are protected. So you can see that governments have got together on an international level, made agreements to try and reduce greenhouse gases by putting in place different strategies, such as using renewable energy sources, and also trying to reduce use of vehicles, for example, reducing the use of fossil fuels, and trying to help countries to look after the resources that they have. More recently, there seems to be more movement in terms of recycling the resources that we already have. So actually reducing the levels of waste, so reusing, upcycling and things like that, because waste is placed in landfill sites and that affects biodiversity by using the land, and it produces a lot of pollution. So one of the key things that has come out more recently is about the use of plastic and the problems with plastic pollution throughout the world. So many scientists are involved in developing alternatives to plastics, or looking at ways of reusing or reducing the use of plastics. So recycling strategies are very important. They start off at a local level, so from a household to a national and an international level. So governments have introduced many initiatives to reduce waste, and in fact many people want to reduce the amount of waste that they are producing. So all of those things are going to help improve or maintain biodiversity. So here is a little table. So from my video that you've just watched, I'd like you to write down each of the main factors that I've discussed. What is it? And then give an example. If you don't want my example, you can maybe look on the internet and find other examples. So to summarize, in terms of maintaining biodiversity, well, healthy ecosystems clean our water, they purify our air, maintain our soil, regulate climate, recycle nutrients, and provide us with food. So they provide raw materials and resources for medicines and other purposes. As it says here, that they are, and this is from the European Union, they are the foundation of all civilization and sustain our economies. It's this simple. We could not live without these ecosystem services. So they are what we call a natural capital. So many economists are realizing that if you have a healthy environment and you have a large amount of biodiversity, then you can have a thriving economy. But also, more importantly, you can maintain species and maintain life on planet Earth. I hope you found that video useful. Please do subscribe if you haven't already to DrBiology, and there'll be more videos coming soon.